So I got a project here today. We're working on caulking some windows. Customer had some brand new windows installed. I replaced aluminum windows with these vinyl windows, and none of the trim was replaced, but we're going to be caulking these windows. Now, the window installers had two products they were going to use to caulk the windows, and I grabbed one of each of them. One of them was quad and the other is DAP caulking, and I just told them, you know, hold on, I'll take care of the caulking myself. You know, I got a lot of experience caulking. I wanted it to look super nice, so I'm using a method called sponge caulking, and I'm going to end up using a product from Tower Sealants, which is AU-1, and I'll talk a little bit about why I use that product and why I wouldn't use these two products. First off, DAP. This was DAP Alex Fast Dry Caulking. One of the problems with DAP caulking is it doesn't adhere very well. It dries out pretty fast and cracks pretty fast. They were going to use this on the inside, the DAP, and the Quad Max on the outside. And I would never caulk windows. I would never caulk anything for that matter on, you know, on a house using DAP caulking. It's a low end caulking. It's not something, you know, I would recommend at all. So on the inside of it, we're going to be using Tower Sealants AU-1 on the inside and outside. But I wouldn't use DAP sealants for the reasons I said. It dries out really fast, doesn't bond really well, doesn't expand and contract very well either with the house. So if there's a lot of movement in the house, it's going to crack and separate quite fast. Quad. This is a really good product. Now, this would work well on the outside, but the reason why I wouldn't use Quad, this is not a water-based product, so you're going to have to clean up your hands and everything with mineral spirits. And I like using a sponge caulking method to get my beads really well. This product, it says right on the back of the instructions, do not tool the product, so you apply it and leave it, and so you're not going to get a nice smooth bead, and you're not going to get nice corners with it because you can't tool it. And once again, if you tried to tool it, you'd have to use like mineral spirits. Then you're getting mineral spirits on your hands because you can't really caulk and tool, you know, with gloves on your hands. So you would have to use bare hands with mineral spirits. So it's not a great option. The best option to me is Tower Sealants. This is a water-based product. This will span the gaps of up to 2 inches. So it's going to span large gaps. There are some of the windows that have a gap, you know, about a 1/2 inch gap. We're using backer rod to fill it in so you don't fill that whole gap with caulking and just pump tons of caulking in there. We've put backer rod in and then go right over the top of it with our AU-1. I like this product because it is water-based, and it bonds better than any product I've ever used before, and over the long run versus Quad, it's going to expand and contract better and have more flexibility. But it is water-based, so it's just easy to work with. I can sponge caulk, use my sponge caulking method. It goes in a standard caulking gun, which is nice also. So I'm just caulking these windows. Once again, these gaps right here, these are small gaps. I don't have to put any backer rod in, and so I can just caulk them with just using my sponge caulking method. And I'll show you what that looks like. I just use a caulking sponge just like this. I wring it all out, cut my tip of my caulking at a 45-degree angle. That 45-degree angle is going to lay on my surface, flat on my surface, and that's what's going to get the caulking down into the crack. You don't want your 45-degree angle sideways or up. You want it flat on your surface. I'm only going to apply enough caulking to fill that gap. If you put too much caulking, you're going to be wiping off a lot of caulking. It's going to be wasted material, but it's also going to get on your trim and on your window. So I'm just going to run my bead on there. I like to just watch, make sure I'm filling my gap. I'm just going to go slow enough, just take your time. I always keep the tip of my caulking tube clean. Fill that gap. And you don't want to do too much caulking at once, because if your caulking starts to dry, it doesn't tool very well. One of the other reasons why I like this Tower AU-1, it tools amazing. It's like butter. So you can use it, comes in big old huge sausage packs. You can use it on concrete tilt-ups. That's what it was designed for, so the large gaps in concrete tilt-ups. It's paintable. So I'm going to do 2 sides, wet my finger, just press down just enough where I can feel the caulking. Pressing it down in, getting a nice bead. Trying to keep as much off the vinyl window. You want to use a caulking like this. This is a construction grade sealant right here, and you got these white vinyl windows. You want to get a good seal on these windows. You want to get a good bond because they're they're a gloss vinyl, and so if you buy an inexpensive caulking or a cheap caulking, try to save money like DAP, you're not going to get a good bond to your vinyl window, and it will separate probably within a year or 2. So caulking just takes time. You don't want to be in a hurry. Just pressing down slightly. I'll just keep wetting my finger, try to get my corner perfect the way I want it. Now I'll do the other 2 edges. The inside is nice and tight, so I don't have to use backer rod. Now if you could, like with quad says you can't tool it, you would just put it on just like that. You'd have to be very particular, very slow with your bead to get a nice bead. It's going to stay kind of rounded, full, and kind of like bumpy, kind of like a weld. But with AU-1, I can go right over it, tool it just like this with my finger. And I don't use any type, there's like little tools that you were sold that the tool caulking with, but it never works as well as the good old-fashioned pat of your finger. You can see I just keep wetting my sponge over and over. Those corners, I want my corners super smooth, nice and tight. You want to make sure you go slow enough that you're putting your caulking into that gap, and I'm watching it come out of the end of the tube up into the crack. I can see it filling. After every window, I'm just going to clean my caulking sponge. So I keep a bucket of warm water. So I got a bucket of warm water here. So I don't want to get a lot of caulking built up on my sponge. It'll start to get real messy. Now I'll go outside. We'll caulk the outside of the window now. So I got my gap on the outside bigger than in the inside, so I'm going to cut my tube of my caulking a little bit bigger, still at a 45-degree angle. None of these gaps are big enough that I need to use backer rod. On the other window I had a gap that was big enough, I used backer rod. Really hot outside, so you can't go very far before your caulking will start to skim over on the top and not be very toolable, so you want to be aware of how hot it is, how fast your caulking is drying. Like that. This window, inside and outside, is all done. Got 4 more windows to do.